Welcome to Between Authors. I'm your host, author Adrian Lopez. What is it that excites us as a reader? It's finding that author or book that you may never have heard of, sort of like the treasure hunt as a reader. The goal for my podcast is to bring to you those authors or books that you may never have found before, but could be the treasure you've been searching for all along. Today in episode 36, I bring to you author Ted Kostis. We're going to go a little bit over what he's published, what he's working on, and maybe what his plans are for the future. Welcome to the show, Ted.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the reason really I've done this podcast is to bring a lot of the indie authors that maybe a lot of people maybe haven't heard of, because it's difficult for us indie authors to get out there and get our books. They're on Amazon, but they're hidden among, thousands and thousands of books. And this is one way, hopefully, to get you out there for other, readers to find your work. Why don't you give the viewers a little introduction about you, who you are, what you enjoy?
Sure. I am a radar engineer. I have specialized in military radar in most of my studies. I got a master's degree in imaging radar and a PhD in electronic warfare against advanced radars and advanced communication stations. But I always had a dream. When I was, something like 14, 15, 16, there was a series in Greece that was a small papers, small books that had science fiction stories inside them. Mm-hmm. I used to read them all the time, mostly in summer. And I always wanted to write a story, and I grasped this opportunity. I mean, this is an ongoing process of around 4 or 5 years now. I mean, the book that I now have written, and I can say that it's a product, because before I didn't have a product. You gotta have, I don't know if you agree, I mean, you gotta have a product. I mean, means a finished book, that has an inciting incident, catalyst, blah blah blah, satisfying conclusion, a product. Now I have a product. Before I had portions of it, but now it's a standalone. But it has great series potential, because somebody reads the book, they will see that not all things are resolved. The romance arc of the protagonist is not solved and all that. So this is my influence from my professional life. I don't know if I have covered this question, because I may have answered this question.
Yeah,
a little longer than I should.
No, you're fine. Influences are a little bit of everything, right? It could be like one of your influences definitely is your love for the old sci-fi stories you wrote, like the little short stories that influenced you to want to write your own, right? And then some of the stuff you do in your career and some of the stuff you learn is another part of your influence of what you worked on and your love for that type of things. Besides those, were there any other genres of books that you like besides science fiction, or were there other things, maybe movies or artwork that influence you as well?
Well, I am the generation of the Space 1999.
Oh, and I remember that.
Yeah. and especially the first series, which is more sci-fi, horror, paranormal. Yes. Than the second. Don't get me wrong, I love both seasons. But I'm the generation where I was in elementary school, and I was rushing home to trying to get the next episode on the TV, because there were no VCRs, no internet, no recording. It was that time. And if you lost a little bit of the beginning, you said, "Oh, I just need to understand what's happening." And
if you missed it, you missed it, right?
Huh? Right.
If you missed it, you missed it. That was it.
Oh, and if you missed it, The worst thing was if you're in the last 4 minutes, not 5, not even 5, on the last 4 minutes. Bam, and let's go to the next episode. Dun, dun, and you had to condolence yourself with the music, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember that series too. I love that series. Yeah, most of the people, when you ask them, they know Star Wars, they know Star Trek, but a lot of people don't mention, like, the original Battlestar Galactica and Space
That's it,
1999. Those
yeah.
those were big ones back then too.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. Buck Rogers. Let's go a little bit nowadays. Raidanion, or I don't remember it very well. Very nice science fiction movie with a nice plot. And this, this nice. I think this is a nice generation that sci-fi was. Should I say pure? Should I say interesting? Should I say exciting?
Yeah.
Explorative.
Yeah.
Fearful.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the original stories, the original shows, were they always the best, produced shows? No. Was it always the best writing? Not necessarily, but it was a different approach than you have now, because they couldn't rely on special effects. They couldn't rely on all the extra stuff, right? So the story, even if it wasn't a great, well-written story, the story had to carry you through. And that's kind of what made those shows, people fall in love with sci-fi, the way they did that. Even it's similar to like original old horror movies. Again, no special effects. It's just the way you have to get the reader or the viewer into that story. And they just did a beautiful job with that back then.
I mean, yeah, especially Space 1999 was very successful, because it was taking the what if. It was taking something that's familiar, the moon, and it was making it a spaceship. What if the moon was a spaceship? And what if it encountered other planets and strange civilizations, enemies that were fighting, wanted to destroy, wanted to take over, wanted to take over their minds? Yeah. Well, that's pure science fiction, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great show. It was a great show. I'm glad you mentioned that one. That's, I haven't seen anything of that in years, and since the last time I've seen any clips or anything of the show.
Yeah, I usually see it. I see it even today. It's very nice, and the music is fantastic. It's a great influence.
It was great. I mean, for any of the viewers that never saw it, you definitely should look it up. It's very old school in terms of the effects and stuff, but it's a great series to watch and just get some of that foundation for sci-fi of what was building a lot of what you see today. Let's talk about your book, right? So your book is in the sci-fi genre.
Yeah, the title is a Ganasa incident. A Ganasa incident, meaning that something happened in a Ganasa. I will try not to spoil a lot, but even in the cover of the book, a Ganasa is there. So a Ganasa is a generation spaceship, a huge generation spaceship that has 3 rings that rotate. So this is how it got artificial gravity, and people could live in there. Of course, when you see Battlestar Galactica, you don't care about, some hard sci-fi things, because, you want to see a space base. You don't care. I've never cared if there was gravity in Galactica. Never cared. But and I'm sure that any sci-fi fan you want to ask is going to say, what is gravity, in Galactica? What is gravity? It exists. It's no problem. People can walk. But I got these rings, so just to get on the hi-fi thing. Now the mystery is that this spaceship started from the enemies of the protagonist, from from the adversary civilization, and was launched into space with 50,000, crew, settlers, pioneers, etc., etc. But it was lost. It disappeared, and it was very strange how it disappeared. Now, when the book happens, Ganasai has already disappeared somewhere around 60 years ago. Okay, and the first part of the book is the setting up of the story. Who is the protagonist? Ted Rogers, space marine, pilot, intelligence officer. The book starts with a series of short stories, so not to bore the reader. Because I decided. I'm not saying that this is the best. I decided, because that's how my brain is, that if I got separate episodes, different episodes that show a different side of the protagonist, it won't bore the reader. The reader will see him now after month after month after month in there. And then the inciting incident happens, which is from the boss of Ted Rogers, right? The boss, Ted Rogers, is visited by a friend of his. Now he's 55. He's old. He's visited by one of his friends of the same age, and he says that his daughter has disappeared on a notorious casino moon. It's a planetoid that has casino inside, and there's a rumor in there that people that go in the special in the very important person's room disappear. Right? So that's a rumor, and they say Ted has a sidekick, George, who are very good friends from childhood. So they trust each other. It's, if anybody can relate, having a friend from childhood that is absolutely devoted and always has your back and always goes towards your interest and always looks after you. And he'd rather die with you than leave you in a situation. Or if he left you in a situation, he knew that there was nothing he could do for you, so he would rather get help to get you out, not to escape. So this is the first part of the book, what builds up. And also in the first part of the book, talking about 150 pages, something like that, there is the meet cute that Ted and George meet two strange girls inside a very important person's room. They stumble upon them. One girl throws a screwdriver, a vodka orange. He throws it to Ted, and Ted turns around and says, "Who's the dead man who threw this drink on me?" And he sees this girl. Now, mind you, they are on this planet, and it has no atmosphere, and it has no gravity. It's like the moon. Inside the casino, there's no atmosphere, so they're on their spacesuits. But they have these helmets that you can see. I mean,
yeah,
you can see. So he looks at this girl, says, "Oh my God," right? So they kind of form a group, and then Ted goes and plays baccarat, and plays for high stakes. And when Ted plays baccarat is a game of chance. You can have absolutely no strategy. You just pick cards. That's it. You can't bluff. You can't bluff. It's right. But when Ted plays baccarat, it stops being a game of chance, and he always wins, and he won, right? And the other guy tried to cheat him, but Ted won. Now I can't say anymore. You gotta read the book, right?
Absolutely.
How Ted cheated.
Yeah, it's interesting that the way you said that you started the book with a little mini short stories to kind of give you the background of the character, right? I think that's a very interesting way to approach it. And technically, I always feel there is no right or wrong way, right? I agree with when your mind works a certain way to take it that way, right? And I really kind of like that approach of those little short stories, almost like you're saying, the way we used to watch these episodes of the thing, you would have these little episodes to kind of get you into the main storyline, right? similar now to when you watch a series. Sometimes they give you like what's happened up to this point, and you get all these little flashes, right? And it's a great way to approach it. And I'm sure there's a ton of people, an audience that would love that approach because they've never seen it, right? It's something new. But I do like that approach. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, it's like the beginning of a James Bond movie that they got you into what's happened that's completely independent, but shows you an exciting or an interesting or a worthwhile knowing aspects of the character. Now, James Bond is only one, right? You cannot have two or three, but in a novel, because it's a different beast, right? So I put together. I started with 1, 2, and then it became something like 5 short stories, some longer, some shorter, and because there will be a huge romance in this series, I have also foretold the ending that the external conflict Ted will win, right? Because otherwise, what the hell, right? But it leaves doubts if he will be able to achieve the romantic targets. If he will be able, because Ted has this problem. He was an orphan, and George was an orphan as well. And they were on planet Spaceport Royale, and there were urchins in the streets. And then something happened, which I have this story. It's a child's story, right? These guys are now 8 years old. It's a children's story. I have already completed it. I need some time to complete it so I can publish it. But this is what happened. And then they went over. The other guys took them, made them the Space Marines and the skilled intelligence and military officers they are. And but he has neglected his personal life. And the other guy, George, he has neglected his personal life as well. Intelligence, operations, war. And Ted says, should I start a family? What happens if I die? I have all this. And we see them after the great Battle of Ferton that they are saying, a lot of our colleagues didn't make it. We made it, but who knows tomorrow? So he has this kind of problems as an inner conflict, and he cannot commit to a single girl, saying, what happens if I die? I'm going to leave my kids orphan, or I didn't have a family of my own. Why should I give it to my kid? He has these problems. I mean, this is what you want to read in a novel, right? You want to read a problem, and you want to see the resolution of this problem. So that's the inner problem of Ted. Okay, he's a ladies' man. He may enjoy it sometimes, but take it from me, he doesn't like it. He would rather have something. But he says, now I'm 38 years old. When we see him, it's 24, 30, and he's 38 years old. And he says, I'm too old. Which girl is gonna look for me? Who wants to, have something with me? Blah blah blah. And he, that's his flow. That's his internal flow, right?
Yeah.
So. And of course, the external conflict is the space opera, galactic empire conflicts, where you have espionage, intelligence, find out things. In the first part of the book, they escape into the catacombs of these planetoids, and there they find some very unsettling elements that hint that their opponents are plotting espionage operations and probably weapons of mass destruction on a planetoid level. So this is, it gives hints and hints and hints and hints.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth, I really started this as one single book. But in order to world build, explain, do this, do that, do the other, it would be a lot of pages. So what I did was that I took the first part, which is the foundations. As you build a home, you have the foundations. Characters are introduced, internal conflicts, external conflicts, world building, inciting incident, catalyst where they meet the girls. Inciting incident is when they are sent to the planet to search for the girl. Catalyst is when the girls go and bump onto them. So this goes like 150 pages. I published it, but it didn't have, the essence of a novel. The mid and the pinch points and the plot points. It was just simply the foundations. So what I've decided, because I had the Ganasa idea from the start, I said, why don't I make it standalone and explain what happened in Ganasa? If I'm talking too much, please interrupt me if you'd like to.
You're doing good.
Okay. But and I'll say only this, and you see what they do is that they escape. Obviously, I'm not saying a lot of things about exactly what's happening. You understand? Otherwise, it would take the fun out of the readers. But they managed to escape, although there was a big danger there. So you have your first pinch points and first plot points, and a quite big obstacle there, right? Mm-hmm. And then they managed to escape, but they are hunted. Also, in that first part, there is a Chekhov's gun. They find something, they take it with them. They don't know what it is, and it's going to be used later. It's not used in the book. To be fair to the readers, it's going to be used later. But they find it there, so they find a Chekhov's gun, take it with them. What the hell is that? Ted George says, "Don't know, buddy." I wish we could find somebody to tell us later on. Who knows? In page 5,321 to the 9th.
Yeah.
Right. So they when they escape, they are forced to get inside the asteroid zone, and this is quite a dangerous place because in the second book it will be explained that a fantastic astronomical phenomenon is in front of them. And as they enter there, they are on perilous space waters. Yeah. Only by the physics of this phenomenon, which is not mentioned in the book, so I can have a second book, right? But what happens is that as they go inside this asteroids belt, they find this generation ship. Amazing. I mean, it was lost, and how was there? And Ted says, "Look, we're gonna get it. We're gonna start her up. We're gonna have artificial gravity, and we're gonna go home, like kings, with baths and being able to sit down and not being in the spaceship with no gravity, blah blah." And George says, "Look, buddy, there are rumors about this ship it's either haunted or there's a monster inside." And Ted says, "No, artificial gravity, baths. We're gonna use the kitchen." So they decide and they get inside, and then they start noticing some strange things that. The first ring seems to have been exploded. It's like a battle happened. And it seems to have been exploded from inside out. Yeah. Also, the auxiliary ship of the generation ship, is missing. They knew this rumor because the people that took it went to a planet and said that a big monster was in there. So this is why they had to leave. And as they go into the first ring, parts of the first ring are intact, but they need cleaning, right? So they do this, and they get two. They prepare two bunks. There are three girls. They manage to save Patricia, so there are three girls, two guys, and the girl says, "We're gonna have our own room. You stay out. You go you go prepare your own room." And this is a nice thing I like, right? If you want to ask me, please, please interrupt me, right? Because and
No, this is great.
yeah, the girl say, no, you crazy, we're gonna go our own room, right? You go your own room, right? But when they get inside that their own room, something strange, paranormal things. The temperature drops, and there are like shadows coming, and so they are afraid, and they cover their duvets, and they go out, and they go to the next room, the guys, and they knock the door, and Ted goes, to the people and says, "Who is it?" He knows, and he's just playing with them, and he says, "Who is it?" And Lisa, this girl that is the equivalent female protagonist, says, "Let us in because there are some strange things." And he has fun with her, saying, it's closed for the night, something like that. And he says, "Open up." Right? So I think this is quite funny. And now the book starts introducing mysteries, because are these paranormal phenomena really paranormal phenomena, or something is creating them? That's one question there. Also, as the novel goes on, they go on to the second ring. There they find a library, and there are clues there which are used on the second book. And there's another favorite scene over there, which Lisa tries to understand what these paranormal phenomena are. So she's going to hold a seance on this secret library room, right? So it's dark, and they're all over there. It's a library. It has some musical instruments. Very nice, very old-fashioned library. So. And Lisa is holding this seance. He says, "Spirits, reveal yourselves where you are." And as they are like that, Ted has got a string on a piano key. And as he goes like, "Dang!" And they all go. And then Lisa says, "I'm gonna get you," like that, So it is a horror comedy. I mean, after that, it goes into horror comedy, because it has, and in the first part, it has some elements. It's a catacombs. So it has some horror elements. But I don't believe that it's horror that will not make you sleep. It's horror that you like to read. Yeah, I think it's horror that you like to read again and again and laugh.
So, quick question for you. I mean, I know this is technically, like you said, a standalone story, but you do have a book too, because there's unanswered stuff, right? There's things that weren't finalized. So is book 2 more like would you consider it more like a spin-off story, or is it still a linear part of the storyline, or is it going to go off to the side where you're able to finish some of the stuff that's unfinished, but that first book kind of stays as a standalone because it's not a continuation, it's more continuation of the characters, not necessarily the story?
It's a continuation of the story. It's a continuation. It's and it couldn't be otherwise, because I started this as a book. I thought it was going to be a 500 pages book, because I had the romance arc ready, which I cannot reveal right now because it's not written. But as it is written, I will discuss it. So I have everything. I have the ending. I have what happens in each stage. Everything. I thought it was going to be 500 pages, but as you see, from yourself, you write. Sometimes you go to 400 pages. You gotta make a book there. I mean, otherwise nobody can read something like 3,000 pages. They're gonna, if they fall asleep, that's it.
So you're working right now on book 2, technically.
Yes.
Do you think, and I know it's hard to answer this because as you're writing it, you'll kind of find out. But do you think book 2 will end the story, or do you have a feeling maybe it may take you into a third one? And I know it might be too early to say.
If and that's a big if, right? That's a big if. If it goes out as I planned it, because I have thought about this and I have planned it, I think it's going to be like several books spanning. And I'll tell you how I thought about it. In the initial one book version, certain chapters had different themes. For example, one chapter was to find out clues about what was happening, weapons of mass destruction, blah, 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 the first section and that. There was another one which was a space battle, and pirates were after the protagonists to kill them. And how could I make interesting that the protagonist beat the pirates? That's the whole story. So thought about that, wrote it down. The third part is an espionage thing, because when they are, that's in the first book, when they are in a Ganasha, they think, especially Ted thinks that they're all by themselves. Who could possibly know they're there, right? Who could possibly know they're there? And they receive a message from their boss that says, look, check out if there's a monster there. And also, one of our spies is being caught, so you gotta go to planet Abyssinthia, which is famous, and I'm using famous instead of infamous, for its fantastic asylum for the mentally deranged and the criminally. And you gotta go there. And Ted has a backstory with the boss there, right? Yeah. So if he catches him, I don't think he's gonna have a good time. So, and then Ted says, "My God, everybody knows we're here. What the hell, Everybody knows. How could they know we're here? Everybody knows we're here." So, and yes, and I mean, I can say a little bit. I can say a little bit more. I mean, the second book is a space battle, and how could I make it interesting for the spaceship of Ted and George, which is named Kanenas. Kanenas in Greek is nobody. It's from the myth of Ulysses, Odysseus, and Polyphemus, the giant that Ulysses blinded him so he could escape. And when Polyphemus said, who should I say that blinded me so I can get my revenge? I have my father, Poseidon, get my revenge for me. And then Ulysses said, nobody. My name is nobody. My name is Kanenas. So their spaceship is Kanenas. So, they're in intelligence, a special operation, blah, blah, blah. So this is the name of the spaceship. And how could I possibly, I mean, look, if you got a space battle and you got, Kanenas and the pirate ships and the bounty hunters and whoever is after them, and they just shoot each other, is that interesting?
No.
It's not interesting, right?
And it's too big. It's too big for its own, like a chapter. It is its story in itself. So
yeah, but
that makes perfect sense.
So we could have two guys in a western shooting each other. Same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a shoot. So I had to think how I could make this chase and this evasion and the victory, and how should they destroy the pirates. And I have thought about that, and this is, I believe, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to start publishing initial versions. See if anybody reads them. Kindle Unlimited, leave a review, blah blah. So that's the second book, and an interesting space battle, smart space battle. How to make a space battle smart. The third book is Abyssinthia, where they have to spring a spy out, but he's held in a highly notorious asylum, And as we go over maybe another book. We move on to Planet Malethor, which this is an espionage story. I've written this probably in the beginning when I was starting this book. And, as the book goes on, there's a link and a link. You got to go there and do that. Why you got to go there? Because. Why did we go to Abyssinia? Because we were asked. Why did we go to the Casino Moon, the Lucky Black Star? Because we were asked. And this is the relationship these guys have with their boss. Their boss asks. He's not telling them. He asks them. They always say yes. They never say no. And they're grateful that this guy helped them. So, and this is the relationship they have in the book.
So if this does go, say, 7 books, right? If it goes out into the whole story, do you, because right now it is a standalone, do you change it to, a title of part of the something saga or part of the something series? Would you give it a saga name because it is part of an entire collection?
Yes, the title is Mission Mostly Possible. Mission Mostly Possible.
I love it.
The series, right? Not Mission Impossible, because I will have problems, right? So the whole series. This is book 1 of the series, Mission Mostly Possible, and if I'm ever able to complete the whole story, whoever reads the whole story is going to say, "Aha, that was a mission mostly possible."
I actually love that. That's great. So let me ask you this: aside from this story, right, and these books, however many books it turns out to be, and besides your love for sci-fi as a child, with the books, with the series, was there any other genres that you've loved, whether it was from TV shows, movies, or books, or was sci-fi really your one genre you truly enjoy?
Of course, espionage and crime and police works. I am Generation Colombo. I love Colombo. I may see 1 or even 2 or even 3 or 4 episodes of Colombo every single week. And I like it when some time passes and I forget some things, and then I see them again, right? Because it was really a very nice concept. Peter Falk was fantastic in the way that he treats the suspects, and also it has a very strong premise. He says, "What if you had a detective that had somehow paranormal abilities to understand who the culprit was immediately?" Right? Because Colombo goes after the right character. He goes after him. They say, "Oh, Inspector Colombo is A, B, C, and D. Mr. D, we're gonna have a nice time in this episode." "But I'm Mr. A, I could have done it." "No." "Hey, I'm Mr. B, no." Right? "Hey, it's C or D." "It's D." Right? So, and he went after them, never let go, and he was right from the start. Right? That was a fantastic ability.
Yeah.
That was a fantastic ability. And it was not paranormal because that important because that I use in the book as well, because all the events are go because nothing just mushroomed out of the blue. It's all because. And Colombo did this because if you permit me, becauses, right? Because he said D says she could have done it. No, because.
Yep.
Right. So he's not paranormal, but his deduction is right on, and that's a nice ability, and that's why the series was so nice. You know?
And different
As,
from the other ones, right? That's what made it kind of special. Was different from the other series at the time. A lot of the ones that were out there.
Yeah, humor, comedy. I love comedy. Nestle Nielsen. He even did Naked Space, which is a parody. They took the naked from the Naked Gun and they put it like Naked Space. So to capitalize on the success of the Naked Gun series.
Yeah.
And some people say, okay, it's a low budget thing. I love it. Have you seen Naked Space? Huh? Have you seen it?
Yeah, if you're entertained through the whole thing, it's great, right?
It's fantastic. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Especially when, you know, this girl is over there and the guy comes in and says, I'd rather be hunted by the pigs of planet Burundia than see you again. And he goes, and then the monster comes and he says, this guy again. You know? And the monster comes, Well, I love this. It's humor in space. I try to do this in my book as well. There's a lot of humor elements. Yeah. And when Ted encounters the serious threat, because I said if you there's the first pinch point of the book is a lower class monster, very dangerous. But it's a lower class monster. The second part of the book, the Ganasa part, when they are now in a Ganasa and they explore the second ring, etc., and they encounter the serious threat. This is a very serious threat, and this threat plays on Ted's internal fears. Right? He hits him exactly where he hurts. He says, you're gonna die alone, and you won't be able to make a family, and you won't be able to have a girl loving you, and you will be alone, and you will die here. And then Ted is distraught. He says, I'd rather die. I mean, I have no purpose in my life. But then he fights back, and he fights back with humor and to this threat. And I think this is quite what I can say without spoiling what's happening. But I have introduced a lot of humor elements in the book.
It definitely helps, right? It breaks it up a little, because even in everyday life, you're not serious 100% of the time, right? You have those small spots where you're joking around or having a great time. And that's normal life, right? So it should be something that mirrors itself in the story, because you're just not going to be serious 100% of the time. You just can't make it through every day like that, being 100%, focused and serious like that. It's just not going to happen.
I would like to read something that makes fun of horror, that says that fights back at the horrors of our life. I mean, which book isn't a message? Which book doesn't carry things from everyday life and tries to repackage them and make our minds travel into some different magical place and try to win 100% guaranteed this time, and in the best possible, in the best unexpected, in the best entertaining, in the best humorous way. This is why we write books. I mean, that's
absolutely. So, a question for you then. So, you say you finish the series, right? You finish your whole series, all the books, it's complete. If you were ready to begin something new, would it probably be in the sci-fi realm, or would you maybe try something more like a mystery crime thriller, maybe a police type of thriller? Would you try that genre, or maybe even a combination of the two again?
I think I'm already doing this because, as I said, in the first project, there was only one book around 500 pages, but chapters had different themes. So one chapter, for example, when they go to Planet Malethor, that's an espionage story.
Yeah.
If somebody has read Le Carré, if somebody has seen spy movies and all that, that's a standalone spy thing.
Yeah.
I cannot say much because I haven't written it. If it goes out, I would say it. But what I'm saying is that because I started this project as one book, everything is there. The solution is there. The ending is there. It is a romance ending. That means, although in the first book it says that Ted may not have found love, but since I'm claiming that the book is romance, and the definition of romance is that it has to have a happy ending, I guarantee the readers that we will have the happy ending. Ted will find. But the interesting is this: how?
Yeah.
How can you turn disillusioned ladies man who thinks that he may die tomorrow in a battle or an intelligence operation, and he doesn't want to have a family, and he's afraid that if all of that, how can you make him want this?
Yeah.
Right. That's the.
So is your book right now, is it available in all formats? Is it ebook, paperback, hardcover, or okay?
Not hardcover. I believe, to tell you the truth, personally, I remember that I had bought a hardcover of Douglas Adams once, but I bought it just to put it in the library. I enjoy paperbacks a lot because they're nice to the touch and you can read them in a more easy way. So I did. I put the book on Kindle Unlimited, so anybody who has a subscription will not be burdened by paying any more, and hopefully get some readers and reviews from that, because you pay a subscription and you can read, I think, 20 books. You have 20 books at a time, so it's not a burden. Now, of course, if anyone wants to get the ebook, it's available on Kindle. And if somebody wants to get the real nice experience is the paperback, and I'm not saying it because it's more expensive, but I'm saying it because I know exactly how the format goes, because I used the PDF to create it on Kindle, and then when it created it, I checked it, and all words fall exactly where they are. With the ebook, they may not fall here and there. Ebook is like if you want it now, but the paperback falls exactly where I would like the words to be. Also, I would like to say that the book has dividers. I mean, for example, it says prologue, and then it says on the casino moon of Lucky Black 7, right? And second, on the space station 0804, third, the Ganasa. So, and it has contents, so a reader can find their way. Readers can find their way through.
Yeah.
This is what I liked it myself, so I would be able to write it better. So it helped me as well.
Yeah. When this video airs, when I release it on YouTube, I'll actually have a picture of the cover of your book on the screen, so all the viewers will be able to see that too. So they can go find it on Kindle and find it on Amazon if they want to buy the paperback.
Yeah, sure. Would you?
Yeah, but I absolutely enjoyed this conversation, Ted. I thought this was great. I love the way you approached it. You're a lot of fun to talk to. I love the way you broke down the story and how you're kind of coming at the story to go through basically the entire saga, right? Because it's going to be a much bigger story in the end. But I truly enjoyed it. I really love talking about Space 99 and everything back there, because I love those shows as well, right? I'm old enough to have seen a lot of those shows the same way, and I've loved them my whole life.
I'd really like to thank you very much for inviting me. I really had a great time, and the questions were exactly, to the point, that helped the conversation be pleasant, I think, and
Thank you.
informative.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I always want this podcast to be just like a conversation, not necessarily like an interview, right? Because I want the readers to feel where the author is coming with their books and why they did the story, what made the story come about. And this format, this the way I kind of do it is the most relaxed way to get that information across, right? So the readers can connect with the author, right? And again, like I said, I appreciate you coming on. I love supporting authors. I really want to do my best to get everybody out there. I'm not going to say I have tons and tons of followers, but again, if I can get 10 new people to see your book that never would have saw it, to me, that's a win, right? Because maybe of those 10, 3 or 4 read it, love it, tell somebody else. So just if I can get a couple of people just to go check out your work, for me, that I feel happy, right? Because I'm getting you guys out there a little further along.
Adrian, I'd really like to thank you very much. I'm sure that we all are writing stories that we'd like to read ourselves, and to give our best selves. I mean, not only me and you and every author would like to express in the way that he feels that he would like to read something that is entertaining and deep and pleasant and has symbolism and takes everyday life and repackages it into a more nice form.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I just want to thank the viewers for watching this. If you have any questions for either Ted or myself, please leave the comments down below, and or just let us know what you enjoyed about that. I will leave all the links for Ted in the description of the video when this airs, so you can find his books, his socials, or anything else you want to list on there. And thank you, viewers, and thank you again, Ted, for coming on.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Thank you very much. Hope we can do this again sometime.
Absolutely. When you're ready for book 2, we'll do it again and go through everything to let everybody know what's coming. Thank you again, viewers, and goodbye.